Namaste, Sarajit. Sarajit.
Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste. Last time we met face to face was in 2004. No, 2002, isn't it?
I don't know. It must be 2002, 2003. Near
Yes,
about that time.
2002. Yeah, that was the SJC conference in Hyderabad. That is when you had come between. And then, yes, after that, 2004, I think I was in Singapore. And, good. So, all right. So, welcome. This is the first podcast of mine. And hopefully, there's going to be a series of podcasts with my first guest, Sarajit Poddar, goes by the pen name SriVarahamihira, SriVarahamihira. Okay, and yes, he has been using. A lot of people are confused. Who is Sarajit? Who is Varahamihira? I saw that post today. Welcome, Sarajit. Welcome, Dada.
Thank you so much, Katti.
Pleasure
to meet you. Yes, pleasure to being here.
Yes, namaste. And yes, we have been friends from 2004, 2002. And thankfully, we have kept in touch. So without any further delay, Dada, can you start with your introduction so that people know you much more than what I know? You are a little secretive person. Right? You're a very private person, but I need an introduction as to what you do professionally. I know you are in a management kind of thing, but yes, over to you, Dada.
Yeah. Thank you, Katti. I'm pleased to be here, first of all, and thanks for calling me in your session. And I hope to reach, a wider audience through this podcast. And you already gave my introduction. I am a private person. I like solitude. I don't, unless it's required, I stay away from crowd. But of course, in my professional life, I'm different. I have to meet my work colleagues. I have to travel. I'm in a position where I have to interact with a lot of people. But given a choice, I would like to, stay alone, stay in my sadhana. When I'm not doing anything, I like to just sit idle and close my eyes and think of something, That's my favorite pastime. And of course, in my professional life, I work in a telecommunication company in a senior management position in a global role. And I do analytics and data science in the people area. So I look into the trends of people joining and leaving and how it is affecting business, right? So in a way, my knowledge of working with data comes very handy when I work on Jyotish, because it is a similar principle, right? In Jyotish, we identify patterns based on numerous charts that we analyze on a regular basis. Then we calibrate our understanding. It starts with a assumption that if a certain combination is there in a kundali. And forgive me for using a lot of Sanskrit words, because let me also tell you and tell everyone who would be watching this that words have a vibration. So when you use certain words, you are also imbibing the vibration of the word. So horoscope, it's it means that it's a scope of something, like stethoscope. It examines something. But the Sanskrit name for horoscope is kundali, and you would immediately recognize the word has so much of similarity with kundalini. Yes. Right? So, and why kundali and kundalini is so important is because it shows our connections with the universe. And in fact, we are the universe, right? I mean, it makes no sense, but think about a drop of water in a big ocean, and water can imagine that the water is himself a water droplet, right? A individual identity. But the water can also think that I am the ocean. No one is stopping the water droplet to think that I am the ocean. It is only the perception of the water droplet which is stopping it, right? So use words, Sanskrit words where possible.
Yes,
Of
please.
course, thanks to the internet world, a lot more people have started, using the Sanskrit words. The grahas are grahas, and the concept is different from planets. The planets are supposed to be astronomical bodies, objects, like table chairs. They have objects and properties, and they have some physical properties. But grahas are, they are spiritual divine beings, and like all divine beings have a physical body, grahas also have physical bodies, but our focus is on the spiritual side of the grahas, not the physical bodies, right? And that's why when we use the terms grahas, immediately, what comes in our mind is grahas, grahanas. Graha is to grahan means to accept something, and grahana means to grasp something, to clutch something in your fist. So, anything to catch hold of is we use the word graha. So use Sanskrit words, I would say nothing is stopping us. And to really get into the true essence of Jyotish, and we call Jyotish as Jyotish. It's different from astrology
Mhm.
because of the spiritual dimension of Jyotish. It is supposed to be a Vedanga, and all Vedanga are supposed to be for um, for connecting ourselves to higher knowledge. And that's why use the word Jyotish as much as possible, because then every time you use, you see that Jyotish is connected to Jyoti, and Jyoti is light, and we see that we are moving towards light. So use of words can make us slowly drift towards the true meaning of the words. So yeah, I
Right.
use Sanskrit words and there will be plenty
Right.
of them. And
Please.
I guess that was a quick introduction.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes, I perfectly agree because uh, using the Sanskrit terms, actually we are trying to imbibe the divine energies of the grahas as you rightly mentioned. So the first, the next, where I want to go is how did your journey start? Was there a kind of a traditional kind of a background you come from in terms of Vedic studies, or how did it all begin, and at what age?
That's a excellent question. In my experience, all Jyotish starts with a big jolt in life. Whosoever asks, I have interacted. They had a great suffering at some point in time, and they started questioning, why is it happening with me?
Right.
Why am I so unique? Why am I so different from others? Why is it not happening with others?
Mm.
Right? And they start questioning, and they try to find the meaning behind. I mean, someone who has a great, I mean, I know, let's take an example. A person, born with a silver spoon, was treated. In fact, my father, he was born in a jamindar family, and he was born with a golden spoon, not even silver. I mean, he was treated like a small king when he was young. And um, and then partition happened, and his father died when he was just 2 years old. After that partition happened, and everything, he was a fakir. I mean, he lost everything, and he came to India, and then he established himself. The question is, when something happened like that, people start questioning, why is it happening? I mean, why is it that what I was given at the time of birth is not continuing? Why is it taken away?
Mm.
Right? And then when you question, you don't find a physical level answer to that. Right? 10 people are born with similar kind of circumstances, but not everyone undergoes the same kind of destiny. So when you question, you don't get the answer at a physical level. Then you go into a deeper level. You try to understand your purpose, your position in universe, and then slowly and steadily it takes you towards some kind of occult knowledge, right? Which is not physical. So I was born um, in a very, I would say, I was born 7 months child, which means I was born with extremely frail health condition. And from very young age, I had terrible suffering because of that. And I'm talking about 45 years back, when the medical conditions in the village areas, the place I was born, there were not advanced medical facilities. So I had to endure a lot when I was a child. And when you are a young child, and you know that you cannot play with like other children in the playground, like you cannot lead a normal life. And I was kind of hospitalized, or at least bedridden, a lot of time. um, then you start questioning, why am I different? Why am I not given a life which is like others? And it's the same questioning when and it started very young, very early in life, when I had to endure a lot of health troubles. um, and I was completely isolated because I couldn't play with friends and all. And in my isolation, I asked these questions. And slowly and steadily, I saw that there is no purpose in life, because one day one day what Buddha realized, that one day everyone will grow old and die. Then I realized that what happens even if I recover after many years, I'll have frail health, and then I will somehow sustain, and eventually it will be time to leave the world.
Mhm.
So when those kind of question comes, you slowly move towards a sense of detachment. And then you ask a purpose, then you ask questions to people, and you don't get answers. Fortunately for me, I had my paternal uncle, my father's elder brother. He was a Shakti Sadhak, particularly Kali and Bagalamukhi. And and he was a great, I would say, not even greatest astrologer I have seen. People cannot imagine the level of accuracy he had. Very specific timing, to the dates, and sometimes to the hours and
Wow.
minutes. um,
Really?
yes, because
Yeah.
when my father was in deathbed, my father died with lungs cancer. And he could pinpoint. And he had, in cancer, when the cancer spreads, you have, your full body is kind of attacked, right? And
Right.
sometimes you have problem in the head, legs, hands, chest, you have problems. And he could pinpoint on an hourly basis what's going to happen, which part is going to be affected, what kind of ailment he will have. And then he would give a mantra to my mother to chant during that time to alleviate the pain, because even the highest dosage of the painkillers was not adequate to reduce the pain.
Hmm.
So Jyotish can be that accurate, okay? Jyotish is not like, giving some. And I have a lot of examples where he predicted a suicide just to the date of the person going to die. So, and warn the parents much before. But sometimes, you can't avoid a event, even if you know about that, because sometimes the events are like a slippery slope. You know that you're
Right.
slipping down, but you cannot catch hold of something that will stop you, right? So he had. And of course, he used to tell me stories and all the stuff which used to interest me, the spiritual stories and Jyotish. And he casted my horoscope, and it had all the things, um, like my suffering, and what I will be. He mentioned that I will be a Jyotish, of course. Then that used to interest me, and slowly and steadily, I gravitated. But I gravitated towards Jyotish in very very young age. It's like, five or 6 years old. Like when people start thinking about, oh, my ball I will play outside, I would think about purpose of life. So so and his Jyotish and my horoscope. And in India, even if your horoscope, the parents wouldn't let you touch it. It's a secretive thing, it is restricted thing, at least till you become adult, because they think that you cannot handle the truth. But of course, that interested me. And when I was, and my parents were, because I was mostly sick, I couldn't study well. My parents were also worried that my academics will suffer, because if I start reading Jyotish books in whatever spare time I get, then where would I have time to study?
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
I was, my interest developed very early, but I was restricted till I was 13 years old, because till that time I showed consistently my performance of academics was super fine. I was top of the class most of the time, despite having so much of health troubles. And one fine day, we traveled. I used to live in Orissa with my parents, and one vacation we traveled to Durgapur, which is my hometown, and my father gave me some pocket money. So instead of buying some nice sweet stuff, or something to eat, or do some buy some toys, I went and bought a palmistry book, right?
Ah,
and
I see.
then I started studying palmistry. My father knew palmistry. He was a very well trained palmist, but he took a vow that he will not teach anyone palmistry, because he had a unfortunate happening. He couldn't save his best friend,
Oh,
whom he predicted would die when the friend visited a hill station somewhere in Nainital, I think. And then he said, what's the use of a knowledge which cannot save a person? So then he took a vow not to teach it anyone. But of course, he was not discouraging when he saw that I was reading palmistry book. He said, okay, good, if you are interested, go and read it. But I was on my own. um, then once in a while, whenever I used to visit my paternal uncle, I would talk about random things, and some of them were like the grahas and their effects and all those things. And that's how slowly and steadily
slowly.
I picked up. And palmistry is not different from Jyotish. I mean, the karakatvas of the grahas and everything exactly are the same. It's just that the way you see a palm, that's different. So when you are learning with Jyotish, you can become a palmist. When you are learning palmistry, you can become a Jyotish. There is nothing stopping you. It's the same set of knowledge, but you need to know how to apply in different places. So slowly and steadily, I started picking up.
Interesting. So yeah, I can totally understand the background, which is very similar to what I went through in terms of being born in a certain certain environment. You see where this is there, and yes, one other thing parallel is a lot of my family members and parents did not me to read Jyotish books again for the academic. "यार, ये पहले गया ये और जाएगा," kind of thing. But so that again comes to an important question: is not many not many are really blessed with that kind of environment of growing up. Whether it's a Vedic family or your paternal uncle, your father. Now, how difficult is the bridge to, because when you are in that particular environment, you by conditioning or whatever, you are already there, right? You start your journey very, very early. But when you talk about other people who may not have been in this particular situation or a family, what is their roadmap? And
Uh,
before I come to that, I want to actually read things which you wrote. I mean, this is the book which, this is the book I have. This is the first book of yours. Okay. And I have all the 19 ones. 20th is still not out there,
Wonderful.
right? Now, there
Yes.
is this particular thing which I want to relate this, because not everyone is lucky enough to be born in that particular environment. So there is this particular chapter you have written, which is called the current state of Jyotish. And the first time I read it, I thought you were pretty harsh on this. Okay, you're pretty harsh on this, because you actually come to say that nowadays anyone can become an astrologer overnight. Okay, thanks to the internet and YouTube channel. Okay, then you say that some of them are sincere, of course. A lot of people are out there. But then you also talk about certain standardization or regulation, right? So when there is a person who has no family kind of a environment of Jyotish, and let's say a person wants to be an astrologer. Okay, many of my students are, that apart. What do you think is your advice in terms of a roadmap for them? A very specific question in terms of what is the current state.
Yeah, I think the first there are 2 points to it. The first time they have to ask the question to themselves, why they want to learn it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And the second thing is they have to close their eyes and analyze how much desire they have. Do they, if let's say life poses them that either you choose Jyotish and you choose a prosperous life, would they choose Jyotish over a prosperous life? So what is the intensity of the desire?
Why can't? Well, many people would turn around and say, why not both? I can be a Jyotish and still be a millionaire.
Yeah, you can be both. You can be both. But the question is what you are willing to give up to achieve that. That shows, for example, take the take the love story of He Ranja or Soni Mahiwal. The lovers are so into the love that they would give up the society. So the question is whether your desire is at a superficial level or it is at a deep inside you level, right? Whether you are willing to give up everything to learn this art, right? Think about, so see, the thing is that, of course, if you are born in a lawyer's family, you can become a lawyer easily. If you are born in a doctor's family, you can become a doctor easily, right? This goes everywhere, because if you're born in a family, you are surrounded by people who are having conversations which inspires you from the beginning. But the with the opening of the world, with the education system, with the opening of knowledge, availability of books, that barrier is no longer valid, right? I mean,
Yes.
in olden time, the Ayurvedic practitioners, their children would most likely become Ayurvedic specialists because they learn the trait from their parents and fathers and forefathers, right? That used to be like that. But nowadays people can. But of course, when people are learning from secondary sources, not, let's say, not someone who is near them, right? It depends on the first question, which is why they want to learn it, right? Two people went to a music teacher, right, to learn music, right? Classical music. The teacher asked one, why you want to learn it? He says, no, I want to become a world famous singer. The other said, why you want? The teacher asked the other person, why you want to learn it? He says, because I love it, right? The first person, after learning enough trick of music, let's say 5, 6 years, 7 years, leaves the teacher and then goes become a excellent singer, right? And the second teacher becomes the second student becomes a pathbreaker in music, the next legend in music. He didn't want to become a world famous guy. He just wanted to learn it because he loves it. And he had no urge to go and earn money or to show others that he knows this, he knows that. And he kept learning, and the teacher taught him for 12 years, 15 years, and beyond a point he learned so much that there is nothing else to teach. I mean, he has learned more than that can be ever taught. So he has reached a level. See, the thing is that in knowledge there is a level of Buddha and there is a knowledge of Guru. So the thing which can be communicated through books and through speech, through verbal communication, any mode of communication, is the Buddha's stage. Everyone has to go through Buddha's stage. So the learning itself is Buddha's stage. But The question is, if you don't want to earn, you have no compulsion to, make yourself known to the world, right? You keep learning, and when you keep learning, you reach the guru stage. And when you reach the guru stage, even the teacher who is teaching you, one day, see, I wrote someday back, the greatest gift of a teacher is to make someone better than him.
Right.
We know Arjuna was the greatest archer, and we know Drona as the greatest guru. Of course, Guru Drona himself was the greatest archer,
Yes.
but Arjuna is known better than Drona. What does it mean? It meant that Drona was the best guru of the world, because he trained Karna. He trained not Karna so much. He
All the
trained
100 people, 105 people.
Arjuna as the best archer, and of course, Gada to Bhim, and so many other weapons for others. So he trained them so that they become the masters, and they reach the guru stage. They reach the guru stage in such a way that Arjuna was able to pick up a ball from a well, through shooting arrows, one after another. He could pierce the eye of a bird,
Right.
things which was extraordinary. So one has to reach the level of guru, and to reach the level of guru, you have to leave your desire for fame and recognition. Then you can reach there, right? So the first
Right.
question is very important. And
Yes, yes, yes.
you don't have to be born in a family. You can, like Karna, he was not privileged, right? But of course he
Yes.
found Parshuram who taught him.
Of all
So
the
if
people,
you
of all the people.
and Ekalavya, he was not privileged at all, but he learned it.
Yes,
So
he
you
learned it.
see, what does the Shastras say? The Shastras say, if you have a burning desire, you will get it, but you need to have the desire.
Very wonderful. Very wonderful. Uh, yes, I mean the desire, and you also mentioned, there are certain things you have to give up. Okay. And at the beginning, also you said that you yourself started questioning because of certain, your ill health. You were not able to, you were bedridden and things like that. So in a way, this questions, you are forced to kind of tackle these questions. I think most of the time it is some sort of grief, isn't it?
It is. Why?
It is.
Because it's coming from 8th house.
Yes. Right. Okay. Okay.
Jyotish always begins from 8th house, and then
That
it
is
goes to 5th house.
that is the connection. Oh, excellent, excellent, excellent. Oh, okay. Both of the planets in my chart are together. So okay. All right. So you see that's the whole thing. But now, at some point of time, because you also work with a lot of patterns and human patterns and people patterns, and sometimes these patterns box us in, right? For example, if I've been handling a team meeting, okay, for let's say 10 years, okay, and the team people may change, but the context of the team, the context of the project or the deliverables largely remain the same. So if I get boxed in with this kind of 10 years of pattern, okay, now every time I go into a team meeting, there is this pattern in the mind, because the mind is already kind of hard coded as to the experience could be different, but I'm going in with the experience of the past pattern. And how important is that for a student and a Jyotishi teacher as well, for both of them, to understand how to break the patterns, and how do we break the pattern from a Jyotish perspective? Okay, because millions of books are out there saying that you have to do that, you have to do this. I mean, from a Jyotish perspective, I don't think anyone has had this kind of a discussion. Okay, because if I'm doing the same thing again and again, there is a synaptic kind of thing that I'm already hard coded. Okay, so if I see a particular combination, I'm seeing this, and let us say out of 10, out of 10 cases, let's say 8 cases, this particular pattern has come true. But how do I myself as a Jyotishi or a Jyotish teacher or a student, how do I keep myself grounded in terms of, okay, this pattern should not box me in? So how does that happen in Jyotish?
Well, we are talking about 3 stages here. The Buddha stage, the Guru stage, and then Ketu stage.
Okay.
So what does it mean? The first stage of learning is replicability, right?
Yes.
If someone says, if let's say I am learning Indian cooking, of course, whatever I learned, I should be able to replicate it, right? If I learned chana masala, of course, I should be able to replicate it, the best way, right? The second stage is innovation, which means that I have learned all Indian cooking. One can ask, can you think about something which you have not learned?
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I have learned so well, I can create 10 different dishes, which is beyond what I learned, right? That is
Right.
innovation stage. And the third stage is beyond innovation, which is heuristic stage.
Ah,
What
I
it
see.
means is that you are going beyond what you ever learned, and you are thinking of things which you were never taught and which never someone even can't imagine of teaching, which means someone taught you how to cook Indian cooking, but you know how to cook Italian cooking, how to cook continental dishes, and how to cook every other dish that was never taught to you. But you know that given the principles, how can you apply it beyond your limited boundary?
Right.
So so the knowledge evolves in this pattern only. I mean, when
Hmm.
someone a teacher teaches a student, first of all he needs to replicate what he has learned. If he cannot replicate, he cannot forget about going to the next stage of innovation, because innovation would be misleading. He would make mess of
Right.
his. So guru stage would lead to Buddha stage would lead to guru stage. And beyond that, when you break the boundary, you go to the nodes, which is Ketu. And
Hmm.
Ketu is heuristics because he's not thinking logically. He doesn't have a head.
Right.
He is conjuring things out of nowhere.
Hmm.
And that
Hmm.
is and that is how the innovation happens, because there were first there were books of how things can fly, then someone created aircraft, and then there were aircraft the next stage. Then there were better aircraft, but then there is always something which is not there, and someone is creating that something that is not there.
Hmm.
So when you are creating something which is not there, which is a possibility only, that means you are in a Ketu stage. You cannot use the knowledge that you have gathered through any form of learning, and the and your bound and your boundary of knowledge, you have to cross it, and that's where the Ketu stage is,
Right.
right?
So, so I think to start with the Mercury kind of thing, where the teacher or a book says something and you apply it, you learn it. Okay, it's more repetitive. It is more kind of formal thing. But if that does not evolve into the Jupiter model, then probably certain things which we are seeing nowadays is going to happen. For example, Mars in the fourth is Kujadosha, spouse will die. We both have seen so many things like this, isn't it? I mean, I get bewildered. Okay, so yes, I think once that Mercury stage comes to the transition, and how much is this physical guru important? Because this transition, I don't think, or can it happen without the guru or a physical guru? Because in this particular yuga we are talking, how does it happen?
See, physical guru helps in expediting the process. you know if you are curdling milk, you don't put the lactobacillus, extra lactobacillus. I mean, then it
Hmm.
would take longer time. If you put it, it will be faster. So a physical guru is like a catalyst. What you will learn after years and years of learning and experience, a physical guru can expedite the process. So if it takes 20 years, you can learn it in 10 years, right? So physical guru is important in that respect. Physical guru can help you understand, if you are making a judgment, what are the pitfalls in making the judgment, what are the areas. Of course, he can see that what are the things that you're considering, but he can also tell you what are the things you are not considering. So what you will learn over a long period of time. So physical guru is good, is important only to expedite, but it's not essential, right? Because you always have a guru inside you, because the first person who learned it, didn't have a physical guru. He had a psychological or mental guru. He had a guru who is inside. So, but of course that person would have had to go through a huge amount of time, very long time, to gather what he would have achieved if he had a physical guru. So I would say, look for a physical. See, nowadays the problem is time and effort. We
Yes.
lose stamina. Olden time people used to be marathon runners. They could run for 40, 50, 100 kilometers. But we are 100-meter runners. So we need to gain something in short time, otherwise we lose interest and we give up.
Right.
That is our mental attitude in this yoga, because the tamas level is high, the sattva is low. So we get attracted, we pursue something, we don't see the result, and then we get dissuaded, and then we give up. Right? To get over the cycle of getting dissuaded and then having the feeling of giving up, if you have a teacher, that helps, right? That helps to keep up the momentum. So I would say, if possible, find a guru. Find a guru. And of course, finding guru is also not a easy thing. You need to have that calling, of course, inside you, that that person must be your guru. And you need to have a yoga also, unfortunately,
Unfortunately.
in your kundali, to get a good guru as well.
Right. I won't get into the yogas and things like that, because there are so many yogas, and that's not
Yeah,
the
no problem.
issue. The issue is more fundamental in the sense that whether a person has a yoga or not, the search to the guru always continues. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what should a potential student look for? Because he or she may encounter many gurus. Okay. So, is there any parameters you have thought about in terms of what should the qualities of the, now this is not the qualities of the shishya, obviously there has to be a certain amount of qualities in the guru also. Okay, because if I want to choose a college, then obviously I will do a lot of research, and maybe an Ivy school is obviously better. Instead of Kanaka School of Management, I would definitely prefer IIM Ahmedabad or something like that. So is there any kind of parameters you would advise the potential seekers of the physical guru as to what they should keep in mind?
I can give you, my parameters. It may not be the only parameter, I can tell you. My parameter is, the person himself should be a knowledge seeker. And what does it mean? It means that the person may or may not have a big following. If the person does not have a big following, the person could be a recluse as well. And what happens is that a true guru will not open up so easily unless he or she sees a dedication. That means you, first of all, you need to have a feeling that that person is knowledgeable. No one can help you with that, because that is the guru inside you, in your kundali, which tells you that the other person, whether he is trustable or not. But my parameter is that if you go to such a guru, he will not give you, in fact, anything on the first 1 or 2 months.
Yes.
You have to really struggle hard. And then when you struggle hard, then with the intention, of course, he would have some student who would be capable. He may not have a big following. I say that the moment, see, if you are a good flower, of course you will have bees around you, right? But
Right.
if
Excellent.
you have too much of bees around you, that means it's possible that you may have a big aura around you, which is in Kali Yuga, it's Maya. You are creating a big image, and then it's attracting too many people, too much of fame. And so normally a Jupiterian person, a guru, a true guru, he has followings, but he stay away from creating a massive following. So I would
Followings.
say, use those parameters. If someone is kind of going out every day, saying that come to me, I give you this knowledge, I give you that knowledge, I would say
Right.
better stay away from them.
Right, and it's actually, this is exactly what because I have met some of the greatest astrologers who have never been well known. Well known in the sense, not from the knowledge point of view, but from the image point of view, right? Because if you go to Varanasi, if you go to even Kerala, because there was a certain, and something happened, for the student also, because you are, even if you don't plan, you are pulled into that direction, because that is destined. But even when you talk about the initiation which I had in Bhagavati temple in Chotanikra, or things like that, what happened was, those people really are not well known at all. Okay, and some people probably in that particular region will know. Okay, and these people could do great things which you don't even find it in books nowadays. For example, how many people have really written about, and I hope you are going to write about, Ashtamangala Prashna, Deva Prashna. But even if it is not, I'm not very I'm sure to that extent that it cannot really be written in the books. But these are the people who are there, and I absolutely agree with you, because some of the greatest astrologers, whether looking at a face or looking at Prashna, they were absolutely on the dot, absolutely fantastic.
I can
Right?
tell you, I mean, my uncle himself, right? He was so precise, but he had a lot of students, and the students were, he didn't call them. His students were like, always near him to try to learn something from
Right.
him, and he was reserved in that respect. I mean, he was a Siddha Purush, but he didn't accept disciple. So it took time for people to, and those who learned from him, they are amazing themselves, right? So people like him, those people who have knowledge, and he was used to be reserved as well. I mean, he would also sit in meditation for hours, then talking with people, right? So people of that nature, are reserved. They like to reflect among themselves. They like to spend time in meditation, not attend big ceremonies and all the stuff. So I mean, my experience of seeing a guru is like that. So that's what I imbibed from very young age. So just a quick one, but I'm just saying a person's ability to initiate some spiritual things inside you was so high, but he would
Hmm.
not accept students,
Right.
right? So it was like that. I would say a guru would have a dignity, would be reserved most of the time, will have a small group of students, will not talk about material things like money, power, influence, and all those things. um, will be very strict with his whatever he teaches. I think those are the good qualities of a guru.
Right. So, because in this particular age, what has happened is, uh, this Jyotish has become a full-time profession as well. I have no aspersions on people who do that. But in a larger context, I remember my grandfather telling me, or my Tauji telling me, that after all that, they also were great astrologers, but they never had a student, or at least I was the only student. Okay, they never had, even with 13 cousins or 11 cousins of mine, no one they did. But the point is, they were already always, when I talked about the Guru Dakshina, right? Uh, so I asked, what is the Guru Dakshina you want? He would always say later, later, later. And one fine day, he actually said, "Acha, abhi time hai, de do." Okay, and I was already in the SAP stream. I was already in the SAP stream, and I was actually building castles in the air so that one day I will become a full-time astrologer, right? So suddenly, the Guru Dakshina which was asked was, I will never become a full-time astrologer, right? So back then, I was kind of disheartened. I thought my entire life is of no use, right? But now, now I understand. In the past decade, I understood that how wise the decision is. Yeah, because the focus will still remain, because I am an SAP consultant. And when I met you in Singapore, you were in SAP HR, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me right. Right. And we have all moved on. We all moved on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's very important, because the discussion or the debate is always whether you have to be a full-time astrologer or you can do it part-time, with a not depending on the Jyotish kind of thing. that I think is a debate that is fiercely, and in some cases that debate unfortunately gets into a lot of negativity. But I think there is a lot of wisdom in that, right? Because you have published
No, I
what,
think
19,
there is
20
nothing
books.
wrong. Yeah, there is nothing wrong in someone becoming a full-time Jyotishi. There is nothing wrong
Yes,
about it. The only thing is that every profession has their decorum, their limits.
yes,
Um, but Jyotish is an unregulated profession, which means that people can, out of greed, can actually take advantage of people,
yes,
right? And fear is the hottest selling item in the market. You can sell fear with lot of money,
yes,
and that's the unfortunate thing of Jyotish, and this is bringing bad name to the discipline itself. So
yes,
there is nothing wrong, but whosoever is doing it, they have to have a list of values that they should never break, right? Just because the client is you know a millionaire, they don't think of making taking advantage of the client, or the situation of the client. So I think these are some ethics that all Jyotishi should abide by.
right. So moving on, see, this is a very kind of one question really gets, seamlessly gets into the other kind of, the next question is, I want to focus on remedies. I want to focus on remedies because that is the core of Jyotish. Because uh, I absolutely could relate when you actually talk about the qualifications of a Jyotish in the first book of yours. Okay, you actually listed out so many qualities a Jyotish must have. It's like mind-boggling, and what actually caught my eye was just not the proficiency in mathematics or ganita and things like that. You came in with a word called psychology, right? A Jyotishi must be a good psychologist. That something is something which I relate to completely, because you need to have a certain amount of uh, shuddhi in your work, right?
Yeah,
For example, if somebody comes, saying that I have a problem in job or relationship, which usually happens, and you don't really go hammer and tongs at that person, right? Saying that, ye ho jayega, wo ho jayega, ye karo. But ultimately, the person who comes to a Jyotishi is always with a kind of a burden or a problem or some kind of an issue. Now, to tackle it, obviously, the core is the remedy. Okay. Uh, no matter what kind of remedy it is, do you think one remedy is enough to make the problem go away? I'm actually talking like a layman, okay? Because people will ask me, "Aisa ye mantra karne se chala gaya." What is your thoughts on it?
there is no easy answer to that. And see, in medicine, the first thing that one should learn about is anatomy, which means how where the organs are in the body, where they are situated, and all those things. And after that, prognosis, how to identify what disease there is, and after that, identify the medicine which will cure. In Jyotish also, first we have to identify what things are, what yogas are happening, what is the time, and then identify what is causing the problem, and then trying to find a remedy. And of course, remedies themselves are of certain kind. For example, in medicine also, you can remedy a disease by homeopathy, allopathy, Ayurvedic, or several other naturopathy and several other things. In Jyotish also, we have remedies which are various kind. It can be gemstones, mantras, kavachas, and so many other things. Or even change of place, and change of music, and so many other things, taking the right certain kind of even vegetables.
Hmm.
We can do a lot with what is available uh, in Jyotish. Now the question is whether someone is it requires a huge amount of knowledge, I would say, before you start treating a patient. Just a knowledge of the reason I gave you the example of medicine is, just by knowing how to diagnose a disease does not make you a good doctor, unless you know what exactly is the medicine and how much is the dosage and how long you have to take. If you don't become expert of that, you don't become a capable doctor. So
Mm.
like that, a Jyotishi, you can be excellent in diagnosing what's the problem, but the remedy can be a combination of lifestyle changes,
Mm.
changes in the home, mantras, kavachas, change of a place, even going and staying with certain kind of people. It can be a combination of all. And what a Jyotishi needs to find out is what are the possibilities, right? For
Yes.
example, if a person lives in a place where there are a lot of Ayurvedic practitioners, of course, Ayurvedic remedy, and sometimes Ayurvedic remedy with some combination of allopathy as well. I mean, for example, surgery,
Mm.
right, is the remedy. So, like that, a combination of stuff can be given as a remedy, but how the combination, how long, what is the intensity of the problem, and where the remedy would work eventually or not, all this knowledge has to be there.
Right.
Otherwise, what happens is that most of the remedies where people sell talismans, or first of all, giving mantras indiscriminately is also a problem, because
Yes.
mantras mantras, for example, we are bodies and we have a soul, right? But we are the soul, right? Mantras have a body, mantras have a soul. The soul is the agni, which is transmitted through the body of the
Mm.
mantra. So the person who is giving the mantra should be qualified to give the mantra which is giving the body with the soul. Just by giving the body is of no use, frankly.
Right. Right.
And the person should be the authorized receiver of the mantra also, because if you receive something which has a fire inside, it can burn you also, if you are
Right.
not the authorized receiver. So there is so much, I mean, I hardly talk about mantras and all those things. Of course, my kundli says that I will be a mantra shastri as well, which means that I might be, but who knows? But I don't, because in my experience, I have given mantras and it worked, but I had a huge amount of repercussions as well.
Yes. Yes.
Giving a mantra to a unauthorized receiver,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So mantras are powerful weapons. So the receiver needs to be careful. And first of all, the receiver must be credible, and the receiver must be authorized to. I mean,
Yes.
the giver must be credible, and the giver must be authorized to grant or give the mantras, because if they don't do it, if they have the power, even if they have the power, if they don't do it within certain limits, it is also a karma that you are doing,
Right.
right?
Right.
And the karma must have the blessings of the guru. For a spiritual karma, you must be authorized by guru to
Mm.
do it. So sometimes the guru, for example, my invisible guru, I was given a mantra, but to awaken my spiritual consciousness, and that mantra is so secretive. I cannot even hum. So
Mm.
forget about telling someone or giving someone. So things like that. Some things are supposed to be for your self development. Some mantras, they appear within you, and you have a strong feeling that you have become authorized, because there is an inner guru. And when a inner guru awakens, you also have certain changes around you, because when a graha is activated in a kundli, you also have physical changes in your body and in your surroundings. So they give you indications that they are nimittas, that you have become authorized to do something. But when you do that, you have to use your conscience and you discretion to see who do you grant what. So I mean, this is supposed to be like that. It's not
Right.
something that you can widely give to anyone anywhere and things like that.
Yes. And and this is for the listeners, and my I don't know if my memory is very very good. Okay. So if you remember when I was in Singapore, you had come to my hotel, And I have seen you typing away mantras. Okay, I've literally seen you typing away long mantras. But yeah, so you are a mantra shastri. I know that for a fact. You may not. Yeah, I mean, this is the whole issue. Because even when in social media things like that, people can ask for mantras, but very simple things like Om Gurve Namaha and things. Otherwise, the bijas, bijaksharas, the kilakas, the shaktis, the shadangas of the mantras are too deep. And as you rightly said, the receiver must be. That's why I keep asking for lifestyle questions.
Yeah,
Right?
but I tell you some real examples of whether remedies work. People sometimes have questions. Remedies work. So let me
Yes.
tell you remedies work. Okay, first of all, right? Like medicines work, remedies
Yes.
also work.
Yeah.
There was a person, there is a person, uh, the person, Indian, moved to a foreign country. There, the person had a false allegation of rape. He was almost kind of imprisoned when he reached me, right? And I mean, I could figure out it was a false allegation. Of course, I wouldn't help a person who is really,
Yes.
you know, um, and that person came out from all the allegations, clean slate. Now the person is a citizen of that country, married with 2 children,
Excellent.
with a healthy business. And so a person who was completely broke, he didn't have money at that point. He went there for studies, and during his final years, he a girl loved him, and then when he rejected her, she put a wrong allegation on him, and his life was completely ruined. And what
Right.
saved
The mantra.
are the remedies.
The remedies. Absolutely, remedies work. But again, there is the other side of it when you look nowadays, that people just give mantras, and especially with certain very sensitive topics like Mahavidya, right? The Dasha Mahavidya and things like that. I have been taught not to touch them at all. I've been taught not to, even think about that. Whatever knowledge you have, keep it with you. But then all these bij aksharas, Baglamukhi. Now this is what I want to bring in, because there is a certain amount of uh, wrong education out there. For example, if somebody has a court case, please do Baglamukhi, right? And they are absolutely very generous to give the Bagalamukhi mantra with all the Bijaksharas and things like that, right? So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, and I'm sure whoever chants this kind of thing, they also have a certain repercussion, isn't it? Right?
they
The
have,
person
of
giving,
course, they have.
and the person receiving, right? So that is there, right? So now a little bit of Jyotish, okay? Back in the day, when we were all in that Yahoo kind of thing,
Yeah.
I remember you writing a very specific. Oh, I have an elephant's memory. You know that. Okay. I think I actually have. I have actually copy pasted in one of the text files in my old computer. I think it was a very excellent discussion in terms of retrograde planet, a retrograde planet, and also being debilitated. Okay. So there are many thoughts on this, from many thoughts on this. First, a retrograde planet indicates difficulty, but also very powerful. Isn't that so?
Retrograde planet is powerful because the power of a planet is like, you can imagine the grahas are like magnets. The closer you bring it to the metal, the stronger it has the ability to pull. So grahas are powerful. They are like magnet, and that's why Chandra crosses tides in the ocean, right? So when a Vakri graha is closer to Prithvi, and because a Vakri graha is closer, it has the higher ability to influence you, right? So that is the reason why a Vakri graha is powerful, right? But why is it difficult? It is powerful, but it's difficult. What it shows is not easy to achieve. What it shows that you can climb Mount Everest. Just because you can climb Mount Everest does not make climbing Mount Everest easy.
Easy, exactly,
So
perfect.
it makes you do extraordinary stuff, but it also means that to do extraordinary stuff, you have to have the extraordinary stamina and you have to undergo the extraordinary pain, right? So Vakri Graha is like that, and I have seen most successful people at least have one Vakri Graha in a Kundli, particularly in the area that their main field of life is associated with. Is very natural, right?
Right.
Because they also put a huge amount of effort achieving it, right?
Hmm.
So by default, Vakri Graha does not mean that they are bad.
Right. Right. But then it also means that you are, for some reason, you are behind it, behind something
Yeah,
signified
you are
by that
behind it.
particular graha. Now, what happens if that Vakri graha gets debilitated? How does it change?
See, the thing is that every graha gives result because of their disposition, where they are placed, and also where they are aspecting their drishti,
Okay.
right? So
Right.
what happens is that for a Vakri graha, the seventh house, the drishti of a person shows that where, or a drishti of a graha is where they are focusing their attention, right? What they want to achieve, right? For example, you are you know at the bottom of a Mount Everest, you are desiring to reach the top of the Mount Everest. You have not reached there, you are desiring to reach there, right?
Ichha hai.
Which means that which means that if the top of the Mount Everest is the exaltation point and bottom of the Mount Everest is the debilitation, the opposite sign, then it means that you have a desire to reach there. So which means that most of the time they would behave as if you are focusing all your attention towards the exaltation sign.
Climb
And
up.
that's why they say that a Vakri Nicha Graha behaves like a Ucha Graha. But but the problem of this statement is, or what happens is that the end state of a Graha is where they are placed in. It's not where they are aspecting,
Right.
which means that throughout their life they will chase the exaltation point, but at the end state they will reach their debility point. That means they will lose what they have achieved in life because of
Interesting.
the
Interesting. So yeah, interesting. Very
exaltation.
interesting. This I have not. Yeah, this is very interesting because if a planet is retrograde and debilitated, ichha hai to go there. But in that process, maybe after getting that, everything is really
Correct,
right.
they will give up
They will give up.
because the end state is where they are.
Right. So just because the debilitated retro is, you just can't pick it and put it in the exaltation, the
No,
opposite
you
side.
can't.
Right. Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So which means the vice versa happens when planet is retrograde
Yes,
and exalted. Oh my God. I think this
yes,
is a little bit
yes,
more tricky, isn't it?
yes. That means that the person gives up everything related to the seventh sign from it,
Okay. Hmm.
because when it is Nicha, it tries to achieve what is there in the Ucha, right? But when the Vakri Graha is in its Ucha Rashi, it tries to give away,
Give up.
right? Give up, because that's a Nicha. That means it will, it likes to renunciate what it has.
Hmm.
But because of Deva Kripa, the end state, for example, you don't like money, you give up all your wealth and you give up everything, but because of your generosity, your end
Getting more.
state, you will get support from everyone who will look after
Everybody.
you. You'll,
Okay.
so see, the thing is, the life is always even. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
whatever you give up, you get back, and
You
whatever
get back.
you get is given up eventually. So it's like that, it
Hmm.
reverses at the end stage.
Interesting. Interesting. So a planet which is exalted and retrograde is actually looking at giving up because Ichha is the opposite house, which is the debility house.
Correct, nature, yes.
But then the status is still the same. He's just exalted.
Yes,
He
yes, of
remains
course.
exalted. He
Yeah,
remains
and
exalted.
see, the thing is that it, the drishti result comes and the position result also comes, right? in
Right.
life. It's
Right.
just that what stage it comes. We cannot say that a Vakri Nicha Graha has become Ucha. No, that is not right.
Right.
A Vakri Graha, Nicha Graha gives the results, but till what time? There is a time. The time is normally, till the end of the middle age. By after normally we have, see, retirement is governed by Shani. Okay,
Right.
because you are giving up Surya, you're giving up your, you are becoming dependent on someone,
Yes.
right? You have stopping your earning sources. That means Surya and Buddha is gone,
Gone.
right? So it is a stage of Shani. That means after retirement you get the result of the third stage.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Interesting. 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 Maybe in the next podcast, I'll ask you about, is there any link between this and the natural ages of planet? Okay.
Of course.
I know where you know where I'm coming from, right?
Yeah.
Right. So again, we have some time, a little bit of time, but before I go to more Jyotish related questions, I want to ask you, writing a book is tough. Trust me. I've been trying to write a small book on Dashamsha Devatas. Okay. My students have all given me the whatever I have talked. Some of my students have actually, verbatim written. They have sent me the Word document. Proofing all has not happened. So how did you, 19 books, 20th is on the way. Okay. If I'm not wrong, sometime you said there's a total of 33 books. Yes,
Yeah,
if
that's
I'm
right.
right, 33,
Yeah.
33, right? So maybe there's a connection between 33 and the 33 devatas. Not very sure, but but when did you start? When did this idea come, and did it come because of, did you always want to become an author?
No. No. I never wanted to become an author. Of course, I started writing my blog posts and all, you
Right.
know, whatever I felt like. I created this blog post, and then Medium, then
The medium, yes.
LinkedIn, and so many different places. I just wrote, not thinking about whether someone will read it or not. Frankly, I mean, I just wrote what I felt, right? Of course, people liked it. They started reading it. The thing is that it's a natural evolution. I mean, when you write, and beyond a point, no, actually there was a critical incidence.
Ah,
What
I
happened
was.
was, what happened was in 2013. This is interesting. When 2013, I went to Tambram in Chennai, um,
I see.
to a Nadi reader, right? You
Ah.
can look up Shiva Vakya, Agasthyar Shiva Vakya, Mahashiva
Ah.
Nadi,
Hmm,
okay,
hmm.
in Tambram, Chennai. So I went there, right? And I was curious about the whole Nadi things, because anyone who hears about Nadi, that about things about you is written, you
Yes.
become curious, you become skeptical both. So I was also like that naturally, and so in the Nadi reading, they of course it took time. I mean, I sat there from morning 9 to night 10 o'clock, all the time for my chance. And finally they got my nadi leaves after 3 or 4 bunches. And then when they read it out, of course it was uncanny, because when you see that your father's name, mother's name, and
Yes.
wife's
Absolutely.
name,
Very.
how many children you'll have, everything is written. And of course it also said that I got a new job. I got a job in my current company in 2013 November, and it was
Happened.
immediately after that. Oh, immediately before that, I went there in August, and it says that you got a job in this area in a new company, which is in this business, which was kind of, you can't imagine. And then among hundreds of things, it says that you will become an author.
Ah. Okay.
So then I said, maybe, see, the thing is that for something to become like this, there needs to be a seed, and then the seed has to be planted, and then it goes into a tree, right? So that was a seed which was planted in my mind. Then I started thinking, that I have already written. So why not I just bring all of them in a central place, and then I publish a book, right? And no, in fact, I actually tried to publish something, but that never happened.
Oh.
I wrote a book, which stayed in soft copy format for 6, 7, or 10 years. I don't know, you know.
Hmm.
And the book name which is never published, is The Principles of Divination. Okay, so
Ah.
it got never published because I was never happy with the book.
Hmm.
And so but after this, then I started thinking that if I have to write a book, then what is going to be? I said I don't want to write a book compiling principles from hundreds of books and put it in one place. I don't want to do that. So I thought that why not I just like in my blog post, I just write what I feel
Right.
about all the yogas. It's a free flowing reflections. I said, why not I just write that,
Hmm.
and see. So I imagined that I would have maybe one book of 500 pages. That was my dream, to write a big fat book, 500 pages. That was my dream, to write a book, right? That's when it started.
Yes. Yes.
So then I started writing, right? And it was a free flowing writing.
Hmm.
I said I want to explore this area, I want to explore that area. I kept writing, and but my writing never stopped until from 2013 till 2021. It
Hmm.
continued. So so it
Right.
took so many years, 8 years, to reach a point where I thought that I am satisfied now with my writing. Okay,
Right.
so let me compile the chapters. Right, I
Hmm.
thought that maybe I have written enough for maybe not one book, maybe two books.
Two books.
I see. I never counted how many pages I wrote actually by that time. I thought maybe I have written two books, maybe 800 pages, 1,000 pages maximum, because anything beyond 500 pages people will not read. The books are so fat that people I will not read my book if it's more than
Right.
that. So I thought that maybe two books should be good enough. But when I started compiling the chapters before I published, I realized, my God, it has, you know, 33 books. So
Wow.
that, so it, I don't know. There's no explanation. It was never planned. It was never. It just happened,
Right.
right? And it was a discovery for me that I have written so much.
And this books, as I keep reading your books from the first book, which is not in the series, by the way, it is the first one, is the journey into the world of Vedic astrology. But when I actually look at all your books which you have written, there is a lot of sources you bring together, right? For example, you actually put a dictum, you put a shloka, okay, and then you actually, this is something which isn't there in any book, well, at least not that I have read. I'm very confident that there are no such books till you bought it in, because you bring in the same dictum, references, and the translation from Horasara, Horashastra, DPH, of course, Paladipika, and so on and so forth, right? And obviously, how? I mean, I don't know how. I can just, bewildered. Reading one particular grantha itself is a huge thing, right? Because you had to get into that minutest of things, and I tried to pick some mistakes in your book. All right, I did, I did, but I couldn't find any, because even the smallest of the small, even in the IAST or the diatrics, that consistency what is there, that would have taken a lot of energy. I don't know how you manage, because you're in a management kind of a leadership role, global leadership role. All right, and well, you're an amazing effort. I have no words. I have no words, right? And yes, I've always known you to be a very, very, very detailed oriented. Yes, and as you also said, you and if you actually look at it, many years through the years we have kept in touch, on the phone, and you were always saying, I'm not happy, I'm not happy. And I am like saying, yeah, when is your book coming up? I remember I keep kab aayega?
Yeah,
When
yeah,
is
of
it going to
course.
come? Because from the last 5 years we have been waiting for the book. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
really, at least me, my students, and there is no dearth of, the accolades and the encouragement you are getting. Absolutely. We look forward to it. 33 books, excellent. And somewhere these set of books have already become a benchmark,
Thank you so
and,
much.
and that's an
Thank you so
absolute,
much.
wonderful thing. And because if I have to pick your brain, obviously one podcast is not going to be enough. So hopefully we are not hopefully. I want to do I'm stubborn myself, so I can ask a dear friend. You're my dear friend. You're my brother, right? And definitely we'll have more podcasts like this, right? And any final advice for the students out there?
Um, so I would say that this is for those Jyotishi who wants to be serious in Jyotish, right? I would say don't run after techniques.
Oh, interesting. Yes, yes.
Don't run after techniques. You know, be interested in something. I mean, be interested in the subject. What does it mean? And Katti, you would remember what I did to you when we met in Singapore. Is
Yes, yes.
waterizer.
Oh, you
So,
remember that? Okay. Okay. You want to actually elaborate, because a lot of people
no.
will be
So the thing
wondering
is
what
that
was.
the thing is, Jyotish, we are surrounded by, I would say, a grid. That means a predefined way of interpreting things. You need to watch Matrix to understand the grid.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And how we are surrounded by a grid. And there is a consistent language with which the grid is written, right? So if you're observant enough, right, you see a tree, you ask the question, what tree is it, right? Is it a fruit tree? Is it not a fruit tree? Is it used for making furnitures? Is it used for, fruits?
Yeah.
Is it used for flowers or leaves or whatever? Does it have a medicinal property? And when you observe something, you ask yourself the question, which graha should it be,
Yes.
governing? And are there birds in the tree? What kind of birds there are? Why these only certain kinds of birds are in this tree? You know, there is no end to your observation and questioning, right? You watch a movie, you check the characters,
Yes.
and you start thinking, this character is like who? Is it like
Yes.
Mangal character? Is it like
Yes.
Guru character? Is it like Buddha character? What kind of character? Or is it a kind of a Mangal Buddha character? Maybe it's a Ketu
Mm.
Mangal Buddha character. you know
Yes. Yes.
because at a purest stage, a graha is pure, but you hardly find purity in any of it's a
Yeah.
combination of lot of things, right?
Right.
So when you start observing, they start revealing themselves
Right.
in front of your eyes, right? So I would say develop a Jyotish eye, right?
Mm.
Read a book.
Mm.
Just pick up one book, read it, think about it, I mean, and you need not be my books only. I never say that you need to buy my books.
No, no.
If
Buy
you
his
wish,
books.
you
Buy
can.
people buy his books.
So you can buy, my I my respected authors, of course, Dr. V.B. Raman. I read K.N. Rao, sir's books as well. I mean,
Yes.
of course, my guru, Pandit Sanjay Rath. I read the books of, Chidambaram Iyer, Gopesh Ojha, then Ram Krishna Bhatt. You know, pick any book, right? Don't kind of hastily run through a chapter. Read the chapter slowly, like you are, taking a sip of a cup of tea, and sip by sip you try to consume, and you try to get the taste of
Yeah.
the tea, right? And then you see that they reveal themselves, and then you start thinking about what you see in front of you. You have TV, chair, washing machine, or whatever. Outside you have people, you have trees, you have birds, you have buildings, you have colors. Start thinking about them, what they are and what are they doing there, and why are you thinking about them, even think
Right.
about that.
Right.
So and that itself will develop a Jyotish's eye. Once
Right.
you develop a Jyotish's eye, you see patterns everywhere. you know
Yes.
and,
Yes.
and technique and techniques become, you become the originator of techniques.
Right.
Let me give you a, while I was talking about technique, I have 3 minutes and I give you a technique. The technique is the alignment of bhavas and rashis. Okay.
Okay.
Find out, for example, you know in my kundli, Chandra and Rahu are in the 12th house in Vrishik Rashi.
Mm-hmm.
I'm born in Dhanu Lagna.
Hmm.
Now, Chandra is the eighth lord, because for Dhanu Lagna, Chandra is the eighth lord, correct?
Right.
Is in the 12th house. But you see, the beauty of this is Chandra is the eighth lord, is in the natural eighth house.
Right. Interesting.
So
Yes.
whenever you have the eighth lord in the natural eighth house, there is an alignment of Kala Purusha and yourself. And when that happens, the power of that house multiplies manifold.
Very full.
That means from, and I don't want to boast about myself, but just to tell you the experience of this combination is when I was very young child, I used to have perceptions of, I could see images and all the stuff of what might happen. Right. So the perception of that came to me without putting effort because of this combination. So think about it. If your ninth lord is in the natural ninth house, then you are born with a, to do something great dharma. For example, you can open up charitable institutions, you can open up, give big donations to temples, and
Right.
you can get engaged in some kind of religious activities, you can become a great teacher. All these things can happen if your ninth lord is in the Dhanu Rashi, let's say. So
Okay.
simple technique, but this is very useful.
Excellent. Excellent. I think many people will go run to their charts and look at what is happening. Absolutely. Absolutely. A great pleasure, Sarajit Poddar, to talking to you, and thank you for accepting my request to come on this podcast. And we
It's my
have
pleasure as
so,
well,
and there is
always.
going to be so many future podcasts with you. I am very sure of it. But thank you for your time. Yes. And
And
till
thank you
next
so much.
time,
Yeah.
Namaste. Sri
Om
Ram.
Gurave
Sri
Namah.
Ram. Om Gurave Namah.